Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Lili Nishmasi Mimirosu Mordechai. Shalom Aleichem, what's your name? Mordechai Palik from? West Hempstead. Shalom Aleichem. Who else? We have a guest. Vivaldi. A guest. Yes. Rabbi Isai, so yesterday, I'm walking home, and I bump into this, what's his name, Ariel?
No.
There's not Ariel?
No.
I forgot his name. Chabal. Sroli? No, for real. Stomach. He's the traveling mechanic. So he says a nice good morning to me. I say, no, what's going to be with the daf? I figured he doesn't do the daf. He says, no, you're right, I have to get the daf, the whole thing. He's going to get drasha. And then he says, you know what, I want to show you something. He goes to his car and he pulls out this MDY Gemara, Mayit Katan. He says it sits next to him, on the seat next to him. Every day since Mayit Katan, he says, I got to start doing the daf. MS. There's 2 years. He pulled. Look at it. It even says Mayit Katan on it. My point is that sometimes you have to be ma'ir your friends. You have to call them up, remind them, give them a little chizuk, because people want to learn. They do want to learn. They just need a push. Hi, Rebelli. Some fire calls require us to just stand by and wait. Perfect time to do the daf. Regards, Muncie fighter, and kidney donor Morty Strauss. Utilizing his time beautifully. Here's another person. Lippy Brennig says, good morning, Rebelli. I was in a grocery store this evening in London, and I heard a familiar voice from somewhere in the shop. Turns out that the tzaddik that was working the till uses every spare second to learn Torah, as you can see in the picture. On a separate note, I have a shtickle makar for your hack on the use of the term we with regards to Hanoshim Chubadim. The Ramban in this week's parasha, Perek Yud Pasuk Zayin, says that Yud Zayin says that Paro each time said to Moshe Hatiru, using the lashon Rabbim, even though he knew that Moshe was the one that davened and not Aaron HaKohen. But Moshe always answered in the singular. Shloyotzi Sheker Mepiv. Kind regards, Lippy. And here's another guy, Eli Levi. I believe this is the Eli Levi that used to come together with Fishel. Shalom Bracha, he's in Denver, Colorado, and he wanted to see how many people actually started doing the daf because of his status. He says that at least 10 people started doing daf just because he puts this. Here's a sample of what his status looks like to get people to learn. And I'm very happy that you do the shir in Hebrew now. Yishkoyach, Birkas HaTorah, Eli Levi. Rabbi Isai, the Masechta is sponsored for the unity of Am Yisrael. Yosef, how much does the Masechta cost to sponsor?
I'm not sure right now.
Be'erech, how much did this person pay?
Oh, they got a very good deal.
Okay. Got a deal. Parnas HaChodesh, 7 Parnasei HaChodesh, Yedidya Pereira, Lizchut zivug hagim bקרוב, Chana bas Michael, Chaim David ben Shulamis, ושושנה ברכה bas Shulamis, Amen. Parnas HaChodesh, Rav Noam, Avi, Gary, and Yosef for your relentless commitment to MDY. Parnas HaChodesh. Linishma zechariah ben Moshe, Linishma zechariah bas Yosef. Parnas HaChodesh, Ahron Fraiman, it should be zechus to Rebelli for continuous siyadta dishmaya teaching Torah to Klal Yisroel. Parnas HaChodesh, Linishma kol Chayili tzahal shenav la kiddush Hashem. Parnas HaChodesh in the memory of Binyomin Airley from Anonymous in Manchester who joined this year at the beginning of siyadta. His neshama should have an aliyah. Parnas HaChodesh, Shprintzy and Avrumie Gross, Lilishmas, the yortzites of our fathers, Shlomi ben Yitzchak Isaac, zechus and Binyomin Isaac, and Tzvihir Shakoyin, zechus. Parnas Hayoim by Fishel Klein, the famous Fishel Klein from Tower 41, L'Refuah Shlema, Bracha, Bas, Rivka, Matil, Shehir, Psuris, Toivois. Parnas Hayoim, Mo Landy, Lilishmas, my grandfather, Yosef Baruch ben Moshe Aaron, whose yortzeit is today, his neshama should have an aliyah. Parnas HaChodesh Mazel Tov Yisrael Basman on his Hanochas Tefillin. He should continue to give Yiddish and Nachas to his parents, Elio and Chana Bluma Basman, and extended Basman, and guess who is related to them? Who's sponsoring? And Levin families by Zaidi and Bobby Peretz, Chaim and Zahava Levin. Parnas Hayoim Yidi Rosenfeld zechus for refuah shlema from Nachem Mendel Lipa ben Chanatzirli should have a soonest recovery, and all tests should give us positive results, and we should hear only good news. Amen. Amen. MDY headquarter coffee corner and beverage for the week. Mendel Lerner, Lekovat Chasana of my son Shlomi, Bishal Tovim Tzach Shtisku live in his Bais Am Yisrael, and the art of the Amud is sponsored by Anonymous for the zechus for an easy childbirth for his daughter and a healthy baby. Rabbi Isai, today's sugya, basically we're going to be discussing one topic, and that is, the Torah says, Moide b'knas pater, if a person admits that he has a penalty, if he admits to it before they catch him on it and bring him to Bezdin, he's pater. What happens if he admits to it? And then afterwards, at some point, Eidim show up. So, without his admission, we would get him, because there's Eidim. Does the fact that he admitted first, he beat them to it, does that give him the out of Moed B'Knas? So that's called Moed B'Knas, V'achar kach bo Eidim. Rav says potter. The Gemara says, it seems like from our Mishnah, it's not like that. The Gemara today is going to discuss fakert. From the Mishnah seems yes like that. So the Gemara brings a story. We could do the story over. We did it quickly yesterday. Gufa, Amar Avun, Amar Rav. We're talking about like where it becomes wide. On Daf Dalet Amud Beis. On the bottom, 6-7 lines from the bottom. Amar Avun, Amar Rav. So this is Rav. Moed b'knas v'achar kach bo Eidim potter. If you admit to a knas and then Eidim come afterwards, you still remain potter. There's a story. He had a slave, the very famous Tavi, who was a big Talmud Chacham. He actually, one Gemara tells us that he sat Shiva for him. He was Mikabel Tanchumim for Tavi.
He went under the bed.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slept under the bed. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about a different story. Okay. I thought you were talking about the one that Lilmud Torah Nitzarech. Okay, fine.
That was an Amor.
Yeah, that's an Amora. That's what.
Kana.
Okay, that's what I thought. Good. We got Mamish Bekim B'Shas here. Mamish, unbelievable. Shesiva Seina es ein Tovi Avdoi. He blinded his slave, and the halacha is that if you blind your slave or knock out his tooth, he goes out to freedom. V'hoyo sameach simcha gdoila. He was extremely happy, not by the fact that his eye got knocked out, but the fact that now he could go free. It was by mistake. There's an Issa D'Oraisa to let your slave free, and here, by mistake, he elbowed him in the eye. Now he's blinded in one eye, and he goes out. So he was sameach simcha gdoila. Matzoyler Rabbi Yeshua, he couldn't control himself. He finds Rabbi Yeshua, another tremendous Tana. You hear the great news? I blinded my slave. Unbelievable news. Now he's free. Amar Loi Lama. Why? Amar Loi Shesimidsi Seino. Because I blinded him, so he was able to go out. Amar Loi Ein B'Dvarecha Klum. He says, do you have a problem? Why? Because if you admit a knas, which you basically did, you admitted that that you knocked out his eye, you blinded him. So moed b'knas potter. We know that the fact that a slave goes out b'shen va'ayin, that's a knas. So if you admit to it, he doesn't go out. And there's another problem. The problem is shkvarein lo yedim. There's no edim, and the Gemara is medayik koyesh lo yedim chayev. You know what? There's no Eidim. There's no Eidim, so that's it. But if there would be Eidim, an Eidim would come and say that Ram Gamliel knocked out the eye, so it's be Moed B'Knas v'achar kach bo Eidim, he would go out free. The problem is, right now there's no Eidim, and you were Moed B'Knas, he cannot go out free. So what do you see? That if Eidim come afterwards, it would work. The Eidim do, what's the word? They achieve what they need to achieve. Even though there was a admission, if Eidim come afterwards, chayev. That's against Rav. Rav says, bo Eidim, moed b'knas, v'achar kach bo Eidim, potter. Here you see chayev. Just, we'll put it on the screen for a second. So this is this brisa. From the brisa is mashma moed v'yesh Eidim, chayev. Because he tells him, it's too late. There's no more Eidim. You want him to go free, he can't go free because there's no Eidim. But if there are Eidim, he would go free even though you admitted to it. So, Moed B'Knas, v'achar bo Eidim chayev.
Moed B'Knas is anywhere you're moed or only in base?
Oh, very good. That's where we're getting to. So here we have a problem against Rav. He's asking, where was he Moed exactly? He's Moed to Rabbi Shua in the middle of the street. Okay. Omar lei shani regamliel deloy b'fnei bezin oidi. What do you bring me a ride from the story? The fact that Gamliel admitted to it, that's not called an admission. He wasn't a Moed b'knas. He just told over his story to Rabbi Shua. It wasn't in bezin. Says Gemara, yeah, we thought about that, but guess what? For Rabbi Shua, have bezdin hava. Rabbi Shua was the head of the bezdin. So if they're shmoozing, he was probably in bezdin. So maybe, in fact, Moed b'knas, if you admit, and then afterwards come Eidim, potter, the Eidim don't accomplish anything. But over here, in Rabbi Gamliel's story, since it wasn't a real admission, so that's why. Maybe different times. This whole but there's different. Exactly. Av bezdin hava. Rabbi Shua av bezdin hava.
He made Rabbi Shua come on Yom Kippur with his thing, right? He said the bezdin paskins against you. Rabbi Shua had to come on Yom Kippur.
Nachman, we know you know Shas. We saw that in the beginning of this year.
No, it's a real pass.
I know you're asking for more of Shas. We can't.
Sorry.
Shlomi bezdin hava koi. Says the Gemara top of Ayin Hey Amud Aleph. I guess I'm just thinking about it now. This is Daf Amoretz. So you want to? No, I'm saying not you. We don't know Shas. Shlomi bezdin. No, seriously. Shlomi bezdin koi. I wasn't talking to you. Shlomi bezdin koi have a koi. So the Gemara says, listen, you asked me a question. That Rabbi Shua is the Av. Yeah, I know that was his job. He was the Av Bezin. But the story between Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Shua didn't occur in Bezin, so it's not a real admission. Okay, now the problem is this. In the second brayso, it says the opposite. Here, Votanya, Omer Loi, Ein Bidvarecha Klum. The fact that you knocked out his eye it's nothing. Why? Shikfari Deisa. Shikfari Deisa means that even since you're Moed b'knas, you're potter, and we can't get you, even if Eidim come afterwards, it's not going to be, they can't do anything. Shikfar Hideisa doesn't say Shikfar Ein Eidim. In this brayso it says Shikfar Hideisa, which is mashma, that if a person admits to something, even if afterwards Eidim come, it's nothing. Like Rav. This sounds like Rav. You already admitted. Oh, that's it. Once you admit, Am Yisrael, there's nothing you can do about it. So again, from the first, so now you can look at the chart. From the first brayso is mashma that if a person is moed and the Eidim come afterwards, you're chayiv. From the second brayso is mashma that if you admit to something and afterwards Eidim come, you are potter. Says Gemara, my life Tanoi, does this mean that what Rav says that afterwards Eidim come, you're potter is machlokes Tanoi? Hi Tano, the Omar Shikfar Ein L'cha Eidim. And if there would be Eidim, you'd be chayiv. Sovar Moed b'knas v'chagbo Eidim chayiv. Right down the Doma Shekfari Deisa, what we just said right now. Sovar Moed b'knas v'chagbo Eidim potter. Right? A lot of extra words. Yeah, it's a longer daf, a lot of words, but it's extra. So, I mean, compared to other sugyas, there's a lot of explanation. Sovar Moed b'knas v'chagbo Eidim potter. Loi. No raya from here. The Kula Moed b'knas v'chagbo Eidim potter. You could say that everybody agrees to Rav. That if you admit to something and then Eidim come afterwards, you're potter. So what's the machlokes between? What's the difference, I should say, between the two braysos? Where was the story? The whole problem. Where did the story occur? It happened outside of Bezdin, and if it's outside of Bezdin, Rabbi say it's not an admission. What kind of admission is it outside of Bezdin? And this Tana that says that it's a perfect admission to the point that if Eidim come afterwards, they can't do anything, they don't accomplish anything. It was a great admission. Once you admit, it's we write it down, you're in Bezdin, so that's it. It's done, and you can't get out of it. Itmar. Oh, so here's the actual machloikis. Our story, the guy admits to some penalty, whether it's the gneva, whether there's Dal Vehei, or that he knocked his Evans 2,000 Moed b'knas, but at the end of the day, Eidim came anyways. Rav Amar Potter, Shmuel Amar Chayav. Shmuel argues on Rav, like the rest of the Shas. So Rav says Pot, Shmuel says Chayav. Omar Rav Bar Eloi, my time of the Rav. What's Pshat in Rav? A few psukim here to give us a break. Imi Motzi Imi matzeh. So look at the pasuk. It says in the pasuk, Imi matzeh ti matzeh. It's a double lashon. We're familiar with this pasuk from that whole sugya over there with the klal pratu klal. Imi matzeh ti matzeh. What's the double lashon? So it means Imi matzeh be'edim. If I found you to be guilty through edim, ti matzeh, and then we brought you to Bezdin, and they accepted their testimony, and they found that you're guilty. B'dayanim. This pasuk comes to say that moide b'knas potter. The problem is, I have another pasuk. Akol dvar pesha shor chamor says sheyor kiuze ad Elohim yovid dvar shneim asher shiun Elohim. You come to Bezdin. It says Shiun Elohim. That Bezdin is the one that makes you guilty. And lamali as the Gemara masher shiun nafka. I have the same exact limud. That only Bezdin can make you guilty and not you yourself. If you yourself admit to something, you're potter. So I have two sources for the same exact thing. Elo, says the Gemara, in fact, Moed Biknas from one pasuk tells me potter. So why do I need a second pasuk to say the same thing but with a little bit of an addition? Moed Biknas, but then Adam came afterwards and said the exact same thing that you said. Does it count or not? It says in the second pasuk that your Moed Biknas stays. We don't undo it. It doesn't matter that afterwards Adam came. That's a wrap. If any of you had trauma from the Klal Sugya, so it's geschmack of pictures then, and people said, wow, it's the first time in my life I understood Klal Klal. But that Sugya, Shmuel used up the pasuk already. He can't use it for something else to teach us whether we can ask. He's using it for what type of things in a shemer chinam that it claims gneva. Remember the whole sugya over there. He already used it up. Esvi Rav Shmuel. You Shmuel say that if a person admits, so we say he's potter. But then if Adam come afterwards, according to you, chayav. What happens? He sees the Adam getting off the bus, running to Bezdin. He sees them coming. He says, it's over. I'm going to have to, in 2 minutes, they're going to walk into Bezdin, and I'm going to be chayav this kefil, thousands of dollars more than I want to pay. So what does he do? He runs real quickly. He runs to the window of Bezdin, and he does this. Rabbi say, here. He even has his little ganav thing on his eyes. I didn't notice it. I stole. I stole. He sees the Adam, the mamish walking in. One moment before that, he says, I stole. So what happened a moment after that? L'chayr, it doesn't say, but the Adam came in and go in front of the Bezdin and say, this guy stole. So he beat them to it by a minute. What's the halacha? Don't worry. I stole, but don't worry, I'm a good guy. I didn't shecht it. Now, if he would have admitted that he shechted it, then it's even easier for us, because now he admitted to a lot of stuff. He's mamish moedib in all the knas, in the gneiv, in the kefil, in the dalvei. He didn't admit to that part. Einoi mishalim elo keren. So in this case, he only pays the principal, the keren. Why? Because think about it. Hold on, right? We don't know. Let's say the Adam came. We'll see soon that if a person if you take off the kefil because he admitted to the gneva, there is no gneva, right? So then there's no dal v'hei. Why? Not because there's no gneva. There is gneva, but you can't pay 3 or 4. Okay, so he only pays keren. What's the problem? What do we see from here? We see that even though Adam came afterwards, they were on the way. They're outside. They're knocking on the door of the Bezdin. This guy happens to be that he opened up the window and he screamed, hey, I stole. He was moided first. But the Adam come in a minute later. Even so, he's still potter. He remains potter. Einim mishalem elo keren, only pays keren. So you see mamish like Rav, that even if Adam come afterwards, he's potter. Amalei, so Shmuel says, not a great raya. They them see that this guy's a nut. He ran and he screamed into the window. So they see that they have no business. They're not going to gain anything. Why should they waste their time and go in front of the bezin? He already admitted. They learned in Daf Yomi once that moide b'knas potter v'achar bo edim remains potter. Or no, maybe they were confused. They thought maybe yes, maybe not. They didn't know. They didn't remember exactly. So they said, okay, he admitted, let me go. Moide b'knas potter. Maybe they don't know the halacha that if they come afterwards, like Shmuel says, he would be chayiv. They walked away. It doesn't say in the brisa that they continue doing what they... It says he saw Edom coming. What happened afterwards, we don't know. Shmuel could say they never showed up in Bezdin. Fine. I'll throw in a story here because we're in the middle of Meruba, and you could say it has to do with whatever you want in the sugya, any way you want. There was an interesting story with the Noida Behuda. So I just remembered yesterday while I was learning this. I don't know why, but I'll share it with you. That two people came to Bezdin, Reuven and Shimon. Reuven says, Shimon owes me money. In fact, we were under a tree close by over here, and I gave him the money, and he said, and now he's denying the whole thing. So the Noda B'Yehuda said, okay, let's send the Gabbai of the Bezdin with you. You're the one that claims that you gave the loan. Show him the tree, and maybe through the tree, maybe we'll hear what happened. We'll see. We'll know better. So the Noda B'Yehuda says. They leave. The other says, okay, so Bezdin's going to take an hour break because it takes a long time until they go to the tree and come back. So the guy says, no. The tree's close by. You don't need an hour. They'll be back in 5 minutes. So the other says, oh, so you know about the tree. So there's a loan. Okay, very good. Seder. So I guess he kind of admitted in Bezdin. He unknowingly admitted to his crime in Bezdin. A little different, but okay. V'hamid the Tani Seifa. Says the Gemara, oh, that's good. Shmuel could say that the Edom never showed up to Bezdin. Okay. But what about, right over there in that brayz it says, V'matani Seifa, Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon Omer. There's a Tana called Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon. He says, Yavo Edom v'yo'idu. Let the Edom come, and he'll be chayiv. Mechlal, the Tanakama Sovar, loy. So the Tanakama, safe trip, we're going to miss you, Hillel. Regards over there to Shlomo and Kivi, the whole month. Her Shalom. Mechlal Tanakama Sovar loy. So it's very interesting. It says in the brayz over there that if they didn't come afterwards, you'd be chayiv. And if Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon is saying this on the Tanakama, obviously the Tanakama held you'd be potter. Why would Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon say, hey, by the way, I hold chayiv? Because the Tanakama holds that if they didn't come afterwards, potter. So what are you telling me that the Edom never showed up to Bezdin? It seems like the Edom did show up to Bezdin, and you're potter. Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon says, you're chayiv. So this is a kasha on Shmuel. You see from the Tanakama that even though the Edom showed up, it seems like they did show up, or they would hold in the case that they would show up, that he would be potter. And you're saying Shmuel you're chayiv. Says Shmuel, La Viki Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon, you forgot about the Tana called Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon. Your whole deal is because there is a Tana called Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon. And therefore, the Tanakama holds the opposite of him. Yes, Tanakama holds the opposite of him like Rav. I hold like Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon. That if Edom come afterwards, you're chayiv. V'yayidu, it says. They should come. They should testify. Why? Because you'd be chayiv. The guy give us see. I know that I'm Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon. I hold like him. Great. Says the Gemara, L'Shmuel v'adei Tanai. According to Shmuel, this is machlokes Tanai. Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon says they should testify. According to Tanakama, it seems like they shouldn't, because it would be potter. I'm not going to go into the exact, we'll see, I don't want to confuse the Olam, because it seems like even if they were afraid, you're potter, so certainly if he came by himself, let's see in a second, we'll get there in a second. L'Rav milei metanai. It doesn't say there's a machlokes Tanai. It's you're inferring from Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon that there's a machlokes here. It seems like, according to Shmuel, there's machlokes. But what about Rav? In other words, does Rav have a way to say that everybody agrees to him? And the Gemara says yes. Amalach Rav. Another Amar Afilu Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon. Rebbe Lazar b'Reb Shimon that says that the Edom should come and testify, and therefore he would be chayiv. In the case of Moedim Kanas, v'arkach bo Edom chayiv, Rav will hold. He holds like me also. How's that possible? Rav holds if Edom come afterwards, he's potter. So how could it be? Very good, says the Gemara. Ad kan like Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon Hassam elam shum dekomoidi machmas biasusa deedim. Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon says that the reason why it's not considered a moida b'knas because think about it. He saw Adam walking to Bezdin. So he ran real quickly to the window and he screamed in. Maybe you could taina, that's not called a moida b'knas. Because he did it out of fear. How you doing, Rebel and Gross? Shalom Aleichem. Come on in. What are you here for? Yartzeit? Shama should have an aliyah. Oh, so, I mean, I challenged the Olam last night. Where else in the Torah do you see that the Rabbanon maybe? But where does the Torah ever make a distinction between what you were thinking and not thinking? If you're going to do it this way, you have to think a certain way. I am being moida. The Torah says, if I admit, I'm potter. So you admitted because you saw somebody coming. The Torah usually doesn't make a chiluk like that. Oh, so somebody said last night, Melech's Machshavas and Shabbos. The Machshava changes it. The Machshava changes the Hoidah. It's not a real Hoidah. Huh? I don't agree to you, but that somebody else said it. Okay. It seems interesting though. It seems like the only reason you admitted to it is because you saw somebody coming. It's not a real admission. Okay, we'll see. We'll see that we could poke holes in the admission. There's other ways to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Becoming Jews was just out of fear of
yeah, but it's fake. It's a fake gerus.
We don't know. We're unsure.
No, if we know for a fact that a person, no, we are not sure, but if we know for a fact that a non-Jew is faking his gerus, he doesn't want to be Jewish, then of course he's not a ger.
That's for sure. Over here, Kusa became Jews because they were afraid that the lion should eat them up. And we don't know how to treat them, whether we should accept them as ger.
Yeah, but maybe they were fakers. Maybe they never accepted the Torah. That's something else. Okay.
That's the suffix.
You're saying that they really wanted to be ger and they just became ger because of the lions? No. Yes, means that they weren't really gerim to begin with.
Because
they were faking.
We don't know what the kavanah was.
Okay, fine. What shikha? Like it shikha? Shikha just means that it fell, that he did. Okay, fine. He left it there, that's it. It doesn't mean that but forgetting and Yush, okay. Kavana in your brain. Pigul, it's all about it in the head. Okay. Zog the Gemara. The Gemara is going to say something else in a second also. Another thing, shaka. So, over here we could say, but if a guy without any provocation, he doesn't see any aid, he just comes by himself, he's a nice guy, comes forward, that's a real Eidah. Maybe even Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon would admit to me, Rav, that if Adam come after such a beautiful Eidah, he would be potter. The only reason why Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon, in that case, because he saw Adam and he ran because of those Adam, that's not a good Eidah. But typically it would be maybe perhaps as the Gemara, there's no machlokes. Amar Rav Noam. So we know this idea of copay in insurance. Like the insurance companies want you to have skin in the game. You can't just show up every day at the doctor and take get an MRI and then get an X-ray. If you pay $500, good. Everything with a copay. There's when I first started off in real estate. So I have this partner Adi Amazeh. He's a billionaire. Mamish a billionaire. And he taught me a lot of everything I thought in real estate. Basically, he taught me that it's the opposite. But one of the things that's very obvious and it's done. I came to him with the deal. I said, here we have a few hundred apartments and I want you to put the money in for it and I want to be a partner. He said, how much do you want? What do you like? So typically it's 70-30 split. The guy that brings the deal gets 30%. That's like norm. So I was a little mechutzev. I said, I want 50%. 50%. He said, a deal like this, you're never going to find a deal like this. So he says, okay, yeah, but I want you to put money in the deal. I said, but I don't have any money. If you put money in the deal, then I'll feel comfortable that you'll take care of the property because I was managing the property. So it was a small amount, not a big amount. For me, it was a large amount. But and that's also a minhag in real estate. Even though you brought the deal and you're not the real partner, but you have to have skin in the game. If you have skin in the game, then you act different. Omer Rav Nuna, he's the guy. I'll just tell you Stam Derech Agav. Like all the way in the beginning, I was very proud of myself because we took the property from. Yes, that was another one. I gave him a check. I thought it was a nice check. I was like, after a few months, money started coming in. So it's like, I'm gonna impress this guy. The guy's a billionaire. He has that. Like a few years ago, he had 60 properties, meaning in the hundreds of apartments each, without a mortgage on any of them. So I come to him, little schnook. I come to him. This is in 2005. I said, "Oh, the property's doing amazing. Here's like a $17,000, $20,000 check, whatever it was. I don't know. Here's a check for the property." I've never saw such a disgust. Like, what do you get this out of here? like what? I was trying. No. You put it back in the property. You invest in the property. Don't give me these checks. Yeah, whatever. No, but one thing also I said, it's like, I want to tell the Rav. No, he's not a religious Jew. So I said, we did after a few months, maybe a year, come to him in a meeting. We're doing phenomenal. We took it from 70% occupancy. It's all the way up to like 90, and this. It's terrible. It's like, what do you mean terrible? So it's 90% occupied. No. That just means that your rents are too low. If you could get it up that high, that means you're giving away apartments for free. That's not good. Like everything bad is good is bad. The kids learned a lot of stuff from him. Anyway, so as no shaykhs to the sugya, just figured I'll just throw in some real estate here. Mistabrim milsei the Rav. Oh, so again, we have to do chazara. Moide b'knas potter. Nobody argues on the idea of moide b'knas potter. If you admit to a knas, you potter. We're talking about if Eidim come afterwards. Is it still potter or not? Says Rav Amnuna, only in a case where he admits gonafti. Gonafti means I owe you the principal. I owe you $1,000. I want to get off the hook for the $1,000 kefil. But I have something in the game. I'm playing ball. I'm coming to Bezin like a mensch. Here's the $1,000. Give me a break on $1,000. But if I come to Bezin, I try to just get off a knas. Oh, I don't want to pay the dollars v'hei. I'm a big tzaddik because I was moided that I shechted it. That's not moided b'knas in the case when the Eidim come afterwards. If he has skin in the game, he admitted that he owes the principal, great. But if he denies the gneva, so he doesn't have to pay the principal, and then afterwards they come and say that he stole. Oh, and then he runs to Bezdin. Oh, we actually have a thing here. Here. If in step 1 he says, oh, I'm a big tzaddik, lo ganafti, here. And then in step 2, they prove him wrong, ganafta. So he says, yeah, but by the way, I shechted it. Too late in that case. And then they come and say, tavachta. Why? If you have no skin in the game, you're going to pay for the knas. That's Rav Amnun's yisoid in Rav. And then we're going to see if it's true. Omar Rava says, I don't like this. I show that it's wrong. To Rav, the Rashi says, Savi de Rav is Rav Amnuna. I proved Rav Amnuna wrong. Why? Think about it. By Tavi Avdi, when Gamliel says, I knocked out his eye, does he have any skin in the game? He's saying, I am Moed B'Knas. The Gemara says over there, oh, he's Moed B'Knas, he's Potter, but where's the skin in the game? Huh? Oh, true, but he doesn't have to come out of pocket. It's true. I'm asking to you. I also had this problem. He was losing his Eved. Rashi says, no, he's not coming out of pocket. He's not coming out of pocket. When you come to Bezdin and you say, here's the Keren, just I don't want to pay the Kevel. Oh. So now we're talking, we can believe you. It goes back to what you guys were saying. You yourself said, Meleches Machshavas. It's in the head. So I want to see that you're real. I want to see that your Haidah is a real Haidah. Not that you're saying it to get out of the 4 and 5. That's not a real Haidah. A real Haidah means, here, you're right, I'm paying a knas. sometimes they say like if you pay the city, it happens in amnesty. Like if you pay a little bit, you owe a lot of parking tickets. You pay them a little bit, then you get off chveisvas. But you have to pay. You can't just say, I admit I owe a lot of parking tickets. That's not going to get you off the hook. You have to do a little bit. Yeah, I agree. If you have a good teretz, explain to me. Tell it. Rashi says you don't come out of pocket new money. This is old money. I don't know what happened. You bought this habit a long time ago. Rav Gamliel tried to get off without paying anything. How come Rav Huna didn't answer him? What are you asking me a kasha? From Tavi Avdi over there, it's different. Eidim come afterwards. He would be chayiv according to Rav. You know why? Because Rav Gamliel never came out of pocket. From the factor of Rav Huna, who is a bigger Talmud Chacham than you. Yeah, that's what the Rishon says. He knew more than you. You think he didn't think of this answer? Obviously, from the fact that Rav Huna didn't say it. Rav Nuna, you're wrong. There is no such nafkimina. Itmar nami, and here we see this again. I stole, but then Adam came afterwards. Potter. Why? The reason is because he has skin in the game. But if he says, I didn't steal, now he doesn't have skin in the game. This case that we see on the screen, chayav. In that case, he doesn't have skin in the game. He didn't try to be chayav himself anything. I'll prove it to you from our Mishnah and the Brisa. So in other words, now the Brisa, the Mishnah is actually going to come out like Rav a little bit. It says in our Mishnah, a person steals, and there's two witnesses that say that he stole, so therefore he's chayiv how much? Kefil. But the shchita only happened based on 1/8. He only pays kefil and not 4 and 5. So the Gemara asks a simple question. Why are you breaking it up? The Gneva, we know that he stole, he's a ganav. But the Arba of Chamisha, he admits. If you're trying to tell me, what's your point? Your point is that Moed B'Knas is Potter, is that your point? So just say a whole story. A guy admits that he stole and he shechted. Why are you breaking it up? On the Gneva part, he didn't admit. He admitted on the 4 and 5, and you're Potter when you admit. If you're trying to tell me in a case of admission, so give me a geshmaki case from beginning to end, a much bigger chiddush. He stole, and he shechted, and he admitted, and he's Potter on everything. So the Gemara proves from here, from the fact that I broke it up like that, says the Gemara that Ayin Hey Amud Beis, because I'm trying to break it up to teach you this lesson. That when you are caught red-handed by Eidim that you stole, then you're not chayiv. In that case, where you didn't put money in the game because you didn't admit, you were already caught by Eidim. Then we say, then only in that case, but if a person he admitted himself, or 1/8 came, the chiyuv atzmi b'keren. This to teach us this lesson, this exact thing that we're saying now. That when a person puts money into zayda, he shows that he's being serious by paying the principal. And that's exactly like Rav. So our Mishnah, in fact, is a right to Rav, not like the Gemara wanted to say immediately after the Mishnah that our Mishnah is against Rav. And the exact same thing the Gemara says again, Bryce of Tanya. And this is the story we had before. A person sees Adam running to Bezdin, and he runs to the Bezdin window. I stole, but I didn't shecht. He only pays the keren because he admitted. Says Gemara, why do you have to split it up? That he admitted on the Gneva, but he did not admit on the Shchita. Nisni should say, either or, I admit to everything. The potter, when he says I stole, so therefore he has to pay, he's mechayiv himself to pay something. Therefore, even if Adam come afterwards, he remains potter on the kefil. This case, if he says I didn't steal, and then Adam can say stole, right now the case that we showed on the screen. In the case where he denied the gneva, so therefore he never obligated himself to pay the principal, chayav, in that case, you are chayav because Edom came afterwards. Alma. Says Gemara Amri, sponsors. The turning of the daf is sponsored by Greg Haber for the success and the safe return of our soldiers and hostages for the zechus for Klal Yisroel. Amri says Gemara, it's not a right from here. He gufa kamashvalon, and this is, we spoke about this Nakuda before. The kivin domer granafti. Once a person admits that he stole, so what happened? He has to pay the principal, the Karen, but he doesn't pay the kefil. So even if you have Edom that say that he shechted the animal, potter. My timer, tashlumi arba chamisha marachmana v'le tashlumi arba v'le tashlumi shleisha. Because once you take off the kefil part, now you only have 3 portions left, and the Torah never says you should pay 3. The Torah says you have to pay 4 or 5, not 3 or 4. And Mamela, once he's potter from the gneva and the kefil, you can never pay the added tvicha, even if you have Edom for it. Says Gemara Lemi Ketanoi. That if you admit, we just said, if you admit to the slaughtering, the shchita, and once you admit to the tvicha, that's not mechayiv you a keren. Is that considered ohidah or not? In other words, is there ohidah when you don't have money in the game? Lemi Ketanoi. Okay, Rabbi say so they look a little different. These guys, these Edom are wearing the zebra clothing, the zebra, and these guys are not. They're wearing a black kapata. Okay, so you have 2 Edom that say that he stole, and then you have 2 other Edom, Yushalmi folks, that say that he shechted. Who's way the gneva? Now it depends what happened. What happens if you get rid of the first guys? The gneva. So you have nothing. You can't have Edi Tvicha, you can't have Edim that say he shechted, maybe he shechted his own animal. We always base it on the gneva. If there's a gneva, then you can have a Tvicha. So once there's a hazama on the gneva, Imanu Yisem, you're on the cruise ship, Edim in stage 1, you were with us on a cruise ship, so then you don't have stage 2. Then the whole thing falls apart. Who's moedi tvicha? But what if it's the opposite? In other words, here, so the Edi Gneva are going to have to pay kefil, and the Edi tvicha, nothing. They go home. But if there was the Edi Hazama for the Yerushalmi guys with the zebra in stage 2, so stage 1 remains. The guy is a ganav. For Gneva, what happens? The ganav has to pay kefil. But the Eideh Hazama, the Eideh that said that it was shechted, they have to pay the 3. Because they wanted to increase. He only had to pay 2. Based on the Eideh Gneva, the ganav has to pay 2. They wanted to go from 2 to 5, 2 to 4. So they have to pay that extra. Who's made it? Check this out. This is mamish hard to understand. Sumcha says, Chachamim say that in this case, if the Gneva guys went 5, then there's nobody to testify that it was stolen. So the Gneva guys have to pay kefil. Sumcha says yes, they have to pay kefil. But guess what? The Ganav has to pay 3. What's going on here? It makes no sense. 2 or 3. Says Gemara, what case exactly? If it's this case that we're showing here, why does he have to pay 3? If there's no gneva, there's no shchita. Am Yisrael, go home. The ganav should be potter completely. Like Chachamim say. Look, Chachamim say potter. How would Sumcha say he's chayiv 3 when Chachamim say potter? There's no way this here. Elo aseifa. So we have to go to this case. That what? The Eidei Tficha were found Hazama, and Chachamim say in that case what? The Eidei Tficha pay 3, and the Ganav pays 2. And Sumchas comes along and says, no, the Ganav has to pay 3, And the guys that had a zama 2. How does that make sense? If he remains a ganav, how much should a ganav pay? 2. And the guys that try to take him from 2 to 5, they should pay 3. Why would Chacham say they paid 2? Why would Simcha say he pays 2? He should pay 3. Says the Gemara, you're not going to believe this. Your mom is not going to believe this. There's no way in the world, if I gave you $1 million, you wouldn't come up with this case. This is one of the most complicated cases that's not even inside. We have to say that Sochas is talking about this case. Everybody say, check this out. Your mom is not going to believe it. It's called Milsa Achriti. First, one pair of Edom say you stole. You didn't do tvicha. You didn't check. We saw you stealing. So he says, it is unbelievable. It reminds me of a story. I don't have time. It's like, it's just, it goes on and on. He says, yeah, you're right. I stole, but I also shechted. This is all. Yeah, he's moed the Geneva, but I shechted. But I want to tell you something. He tells him, you weren't there. You didn't see me. I'm a ganav, but you guys are liars. You're worse than me. You're liars. Another 2 guys saw me. Okay. No, on the Gneva. I'm telling you. Why? Nachon va'afta vachti avelod b'fneichem. Oh, you mean the okay? Yeah, you're right. On the Gneva, the Gneva was in front of you. You're right. Here, we could change it now. Here, where is it?
Don't change it.
No, but I can't really change it. We'll do this maybe. Okay, fine. So I put in a comma there for a second. No, but he wants to also admit that he did tzvicha here.
Anyways, go on.
I put a comma. Fine. So there's a moida that I stole, but not in front of you. But I slaughtered it. I shechted it. I mean, this is mamish, and it doesn't even say this case. Then come Eidei Azama and knock out the first Eidim. But the owner's not giving up. He's not giving up. Yeah, but you can't be Mazim Eidim. It's 1 against 1. You can't be. He's not giving a dover. You can't be Mazim. Oh, and then Eidim. Listen to this.
He's saying you're lying.
He's Maida. He's calling them a liar. He's Maida.
He's Maida by himself.
Okay, let's just say the case so the Olam can see. Let's. Okay, let's do the case. 2 Eidim come and say you stole. We find out later that they're liars. He's right, they're liars. We have Eidim that they mazim them. They're liars. And after they say you stole, he admits that he stole. I'm asking you right now at this point, is that considered a good Eidah? If later on you find out that they were Imanu Yisem, they were on a yacht somewhere, they were on a cruise ship, they never saw the Gneva. And he only admitted, why did he admit? He admitted because there was false Eidim. Is that an admission or not an admission? What would you think? Huh? It is a good admission. But the Gemara understands it's not a good admission because he was forced into admission based on their testimony.
But he argued on that.
He's telling them you weren't there, so why did he admit? He's only admitting now that they showed up. He didn't go to Bezdin on his own. They bring him to Bezdin. He says not. I go with him. Fine. Good after. What? They don't exist, but they force him to come. What if a little kid, a katan, brings you to Bezdin and you admit? A little kid brought you to Bezdin. Is that admission or not? He doesn't count for anything. It's not an admission because you have some reason. When you see them walking, that's not a real testimony. You see them walking. There's a reason behind your admission. If there's a reason behind your admission, even false Eidim is not a real Maida. Okay, fine. But then finally, listen, there's our boy say the 2 Eidim at the end come and they say there are 2 Eidim. The 2 Yerushalmi guys and the zebras, they come and they say we saw you steal and we saw you shech. It's a complicated case. It's a complicated case because the first guys are only saying Gneva. The second guys are saying Gneva and Tvicha. He's saying I admit to the Gneva and I admit to the Tvicha, but it was in front of you. Okay. So the big question here is that not now, questions afterwards. The big question is the Haidah, the first Haidah, that's not Haidah. Everybody admits that's not Haidah. Is the second Haidah that I said, I shechted it, is that considered a Haidah considering the fact that there was Eidim afterwards, considering the fact that my first Eidah on Gneva didn't count. Should I be pointed from Daled Hey? Because one of my Eidas is not good. My admission that I stole is not a good admission. Is my admission on the Daled Hey a good admission? So you go in the Asubay trade, Am Yisrael Gunafta. Two Eidim come and say you stole. Omar Lahu, and he tells them in Gunafta, you're right, I stole. Not only that, I'm worse than what you think. I also shechted it. But you're liars, you weren't there. And he went and he proved it. And he proved them that they were wrong, it wasn't in front of them. But he brought other Eidim that showed that he stole and he's shechted. And there's a machlokes here that the fact that he admitted that he shechted is that considered a admission. The Rabbanan say you're right. The first admission that he stole was because of the false Eidim, and that's not considered admission. But the second admission, nobody spoke about shechting, and he admitted to the shechting. That's a good Eidah. Sucha says no. Once he started off on the wrong foot, and the stealing, he admitted to stealing, and that was not a good Eidah. So, excuse me. So the fact that he admitted that he shechted it, it's also not considered Eidah. And therefore, that's why he says, if you go back to that case, we won't show the second, he says, the Eidim, the first Eidim that were liars, they have to pay kefil. But he, remember we asked, why should he pay 3? Why? Because there's Eidim on, because he was made of this, and the Eidim, there's Eidim that he shechted it, and it's not a good Eidah, according to Simchos. And therefore he's chayiv because of those Eidim. So now let's just do a few lines here. The Rabbi said there's a big side in the Torah that everybody needs to know, if you don't know it. And that is that if you testify in court, and I cannot get you on Azama, if I say Imanu Yisam, 2 Eidim come to court and say, Reuven owes Shimon $100. And there's no way for me to say, even if I could prove that you were on a cruise ship with me when you're saying that he owes him $100, you wouldn't have to pay the $100 for whatever reason. If I cannot do Hazama, it's not a good testimony. So here's a very interesting shayla. In this case, if we go back to this very interesting, one of the most interesting cases in Shas, complicated cases in Shas. Could the Ganav, you see the last Eidim all the way on the left? Could we do Hazama to them? Yes or no? If we say Imanu Yisem, and therefore what? You're trying to get the Ganav for 3 and 4, but you were on a cruise ship. But guess what? The Ganav admits that he stole, and you were the guys there testifying. So even if I could prove that you're on a cruise ship, the Ganav is going to say, here's the 3 and 4. He's going to pay. He admits that the 2 Yerushalmis were there. So you can't do Hazama to the Yerushalmis. The Ganav himself is saying that the 2 Eidim were there. There's no Hazama in such a case. So maybe these shouldn't be Eidim at all. Says Gemara, it could be, it's not true. Don't prove it from this case. Everybody agrees that the shechting part, that he admits the shechting, is not considered good. There's another machlokes here. And now the Gemara just repeats the whole case again, so we'll say it quickly. Check out this unbelievable drawing. The first Eidim say you stole. You're right, I stole. I'm worse than that. You also shechted. It's not true. You weren't even there. And he says here it says Mefurish. I was in front of the Yerushalmis. And he brings 2 witnesses to prove that the first witnesses in stage 1 are liars. And the Yerushalmi showed up. And they testified not only did he steal, he also shechted. Rabbanan say, since he was moida that the Eidim were there, the Yerushalmis are there, so I can't come against them. It's not even an Eidus. And let's just do 2 lines. But at the end of the day, we know that if there's a testimony that you can't be mazim, nobody argues in that. It's not a good Eidus. Says Gemara, that's when an aid says, I don't know what day it was. Oh, you don't know what day it is, then I can't prove that you were on a cruise ship. You don't know what day it is, so it's not a good Eidus. The like Eidus klal. See you the Messiah. Over here, the reason why you're saying it's not a good Eidos is because he admits that they were there. Oh, so it's a perfect Eidos. He admits that they were there and they're testifying that he stole it. Says Adarab, it helps the Eidos. It doesn't take away from the Eidos. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day.